Hello all, this is Chartered Accountant Omkar Gargir. So, friends, we are today here with for a quick and short video on the advisory issued by the GSTN in respect of what is exactly there in table 8A, how do you do the reporting, and exactly the impact whether to consider the values in table 8C or not. And GSTR 9 में इस साल the most controversial discussion that has happened, and it has been happening now, and even I'm sure that unfortunately even after this advisory that discussion is still going to continue कि exactly table 8A का disclosure table 8C का disclosure 8B का disclosure में क्या cover होगा क्या नहीं होगा. Friends, if you try to just see whenever if it is possible, when we had uploaded our video on the GSTR 9 filing, I had made it pretty clear that what stand particularly we are taking, because we have been following this from even the earlier time. Now, if I would want to make a very clear assertion, then I have consistently tried to follow the same particular pattern of reporting the data in table number 6 as well as table number 8, because both are having correspondingly both are correspondingly linked to each other, and दोनों का impact एक दूसरे के reporting data के ऊपर होने वाला है. Let me tell you, long and short, end of the day, what is going to happen. You may be having a different view, you may be having a different view on reporting, and definitely I'm not saying that whatever view I have taken or we have taken is the most appropriate one. That is not so the case, because there is still some school of thought of one side which is advocating a particular thing, the another side would want to advocate something else, and therefore कौन सही है कौन गलत इसमें पढ़ने से अच्छा आपका रिपोर्टिंग कंप्लायंस एंड पोस्ट द रिटर्न्स व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज गोइंग टू हैपन, ये चीज ज्यादा मैटर करता है. सो इवन इफ वी स्टार्ट बिफोर डिस्कसिंग दिस एडवाइजरी, मेरा एक क्विक इतना ही कहना है कि whatever may be your stand of filing GSTR 9 return, as long as you are in a position to do the reconciliation and show that exactly what is the data that you have and what is the data you would wanted to actually report and what you actually reported in the GST returns, if you are able to reconcile that at any given point in time, ना कि आज, ये डाउन द लाइन जब स्क्रूटिनी आएगा, नोटिस आएगा, जब वो टाइम पे भी अगर आप रिकनसाइल करके दे सकते हो, आई थिंक दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट वी नीड टू कीप इन माइंड. So, based on this, let's start quickly the discussion on this advisory which has been issued by the GSTN. Now, if you can see, this has been downloaded today, and this is from the GSTN portal that everybody got it on WhatsApp, etc. नाउ पर्टिकुलरली क्या हो रहा था ना, इसमें जो जीएसटीआर टेबल जीएसटीआर 9 में जो ऑटो पॉपुलेटेड क्रेडिट रिफ्लेक्ट होता है टेबल 8A में, in the table 8A, whenever we are able to see the credit that is getting reflected, that input tax credit is getting reflected from the table, I mean, which is the auto populated credit from the GSTR 9, I beg your pardon, it is from the auto populated credit from the GSTR 3B that you have claimed during the year. एंड जो हम लोग ये टेबल नंबर 6 में आता है, टेबल नंबर 8 में जो आता है, 8A में जो आता है, दैट इज फ्रॉम GSTR 2B which has been filed. Now, particularly what is happening is that the GSTR 2B data, which contains those invoices which were issued from April 2023 to March 2024, and even those invoices which are pertaining to the financial year 22-23, but which are reported in the financial year 23-24, those invoices are also there. And what is not there also in that case is that there might be some input tax credit which is in relation to some supplies which are made by your vendor, which have been during the year 23-24, but the invoice got reported belatedly, that is in 24-25. So in your 8A, the auto populated credit that is coming, that is consisting of two things. One is the invoices which are actually for 23-24 reported in 23-24. Second, the invoices which might be for FY 22-23 but which are reported in 23-24. Those two are the data which are getting covered in your table number 8A. And so, and therefore what is relevant I feel is that ये जब discussion हम लोग कर रहे हैं कि GSTN ने क्या कहा है, and now again this is an advisory is not above the rules, above the law, and above how you would want to do the presentation, because this advisory is just trying to get in line the instruction given in the form after the GSTN 9 and 9C forms, whatever instructions are given, and ये जो डेटा रिपोर्टिंग यहाँ पे हो रहा है, उसके बीच में एक लिंक के जैसा ये एडवाइजरी है. So even if you deviate or drift away from the advisory, that doesn't mean that there is going to be something illegal or wrong, because they are giving you a guideline or an advisory how to file the GST 9 returns, especially with those tables which are having this exposure. Now friends, if you can see that this notification that they are referring to 20 by 2012, the total credit for inward supplies auto populated in 8A shall be from the GSTR 2B of FY 23-24. In 8C, you know that we do the, I mean, we report the data of that input tax credit on inward supplies, on a B2B inward supplies, which we have, I mean, which we have claimed the credit during the year 24-25. That is फ्रॉम अप्रैल 24 टू नवंबर 30 नवंबर 2024 तक जो क्रेडिट आपने क्लेम किया है, बल्कि जो 23-24 का क्रेडिट है वो आपका टेबल नंबर 8C में भी जाता है एंड टेबल नंबर 13 में भी जाता है, राइट. So now let us see that based on this what they have come up with the explanations and what exactly the issue is. The first issue they are covering is that the issue, I mean, invoice having the date of FY 23-24, but the supplier has reported it after 23-24. मतलब क्या हुआ है कि आपका purchase is for 23-24, your everything, you had received the goods, you had received the services, आपने पेमेंट किया रहेगा, सब कुछ है, just that the vendor has not reported that return in the GSTR1 return. It's not that he didn't file, or maybe he had forgotten to report this invoice. Now invoices for the day, I mean, invoice having the date of FY 23-24, but the supplier has reported it in subsequently after March, I mean after the due date of March 24. As this amount is not auto-populated in table 8A for FY 23-24, the how is such transaction required to be reported? So what they are covering first is, it's a purchase of 23-24. It is an invoice for 23-24. You have claimed the credit in 23-24, बट अभी वो केस में उन लोग ये बोल रहे हैं कि आपका ये जो इनवॉइस है, ये जो पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन, दैट इज फॉर FY 23-24 फॉर विच द इनवॉइस हैज बीन रिपोर्टेड इन द सब्सिक्वेंट पीरियड. नाउ फ्रेंड्स, देयर आर टू थिंग्स, बिकॉज अगर वो B2B इनवर्ट सप्लाईज B2B है, वो आपके GSTR 2B में नहीं आया था, इसलिए आपने क्या किया, दैट डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट यू रिसीव्ड द इनवर्ट सप्लाईज इन 23-24, you claimed the credit in the year 24-25, as in from April 24 to November 24. Now why so? Because in your section 16(2) you have a now a mandate, okay, that because you are supposed to have that invoice or debit note reported in the return, that means you have to match the credit with 16, I mean with the GSTR 2B. So ये केस में क्या हुआ था, 23-24 का परचेस था, आपने गुड्स सर्विस जो भी है वो रिसीव किया, वेंडर को पेमेंट भी किया रहेगा, सब कुछ ठीक है, बट that credit you technically could not claim because it was not there in your GSTR 2B, बट वो उसने समझो मई 2024 के रिटर्न में दिखा दिया है, एंड आपने भी उसका क्रेडिट जो है वो क्लेम कर लिया. सो व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट इनवॉइस, आई मीन फर्स्ट इशू दे आर सेइंग, invoice having the date of FY 2024, but the supplies have reported by in GSTR1 after the due date of March 24. As a result, the auto-populated credit in 8A for FY 23-24 for FY 20 it is a part of the next year's to be. How to report such a transaction? They simply tell you, taxpayer shall report such input tax credit in table number 8C and table number 13. This is in line with the instructions of 8C and 13. Fair enough, but प्रैक्टिकली इशू क्या होगा, जब आपका 8A माइनस 8B माइनस 8C का डिफरेंस आएगा, तो मान के चलो दैट 8A में आपका फिगर है 5 लाख रुपए, 8B से आया हुआ डेटा इज लेट्स से 4,50,000. नाउ दिस इनवॉइस लेट्स से इज हैविंग अ GST अमाउंट ऑफ 70,000. सो नीचे आपने 8C में डाल दिया 70,000. सो अभी क्या हो जाएगा, 5 lakhs minus 4,50,000 minus 70,000, that makes it a negative difference when you're doing a 8A minus 8B minus 8C. सो अभी इस केस में फ्रेंड्स इशू क्या हो जाता है कि अगर आपका अमाउंट नेगेटिव है, देन इज इट लाइक इज दैट इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट शुड नॉट हैव बीन अवेल्ड बाय यू एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा? द आंसर इज नो. You may have a negative difference, that is okay. You should be only in a position to justify how that negative figure has arisen. Now see, when we discuss one point in isolation, हम लोग को लगता है कि okay, ये एक पॉइंट से अगर क्रेडिट नेगेटिव आया तो हम लोग बता पाएंगे, बट ऐसा नहीं होने वाला. 8A 8B 8C का डिफरेंसेस पॉजिटिव भी हो सकता है, नेगेटिव भी हो सकता है, या फिर वो एक ऐसी फिगर है which is a net amount of a positive negative difference both together, and therefore whatever is your negative balance difference which is coming, that has to be reconciled. ये particular point में अगर हम लोग देखते हैं तो what is the advisory trying to tell you, despite the fact that it is not going to appear in your 2B या 8A at all, still आपने उसका क्रेडिट अगर 24-25 में क्लेम किया है तो आप उसको टेबल 8C में भी दिखाएंगे, टेबल 13 में भी दिखाएंगे. दैट इज द फर्स्ट पॉइंट. Second, invoice belongs to financial year 23-24. ITC has been claimed in FY 23-24. Due to the payment not made to the supplier within 180 days, the ITC was reversed in 23-24 as per second provision to 16.2. And this ITC is reclaimed in the FY 24-25. How to report such a transaction in GSTR 9 in FY 23-24? Now see, जो आपका टेबल नंबर 6B है उसमें आपका बेसिक B2B का क्रेडिट, इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट आता है, राइट? नाउ दे आर सेइंग दैट यू परचेज समथिंग इन FY 23-24, you did not pay the amount to the vendor within a period of 180 days towards the value of taxable supplies and the tax thereon. So by proviso to section 16.2, you are supposed to reverse the input tax credit. Once you made the tax payment, you are allowed to reclaim that credit. So अभी ये सवाल है कि अगर 23-24 में हमने कुछ परचेज किया था, उसका पेमेंट 23-24 में 180 दिन के अंदर फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस नहीं हुआ, so on the 181st day, let's say you reverse certain input tax credit, and now that payment you have made to the vendor in the year FY 24-25, एंड आपने वो क्रेडिट जो है वो रिक्लेम कर दिया. नाउ दे आर सेइंग हाउ टू रिपोर्ट सच टाइप ऑफ अ ट्रांजैक्शन. ओके, now what does the advisory say? That the reclaimed input tax credit shall be reported in table 6H of GSTR 9 of FY 24-25. Why? This year this amount you have not shown, I mean this year this amount you have shown in 6B, that is the availed input tax credit. उसके बाद आपने उसको 7C में भी दिखाया रहेगा where you have reversed the ITs, because ये आपने not 7C, beg your pardon, under 7E for not making the payment within 180 days. तो अगर आपने उसको 6B में दिखाया तो वो ग्रॉस क्रेडिट अवेल्ड में आ गया, आपने रिवर्सल में भी दिखाया तो वहां से भी ऐड हो गया, तो नेट इंपैक्ट ऑफ दैट आईटीसी इज गॉन. Now you are saying that you have claimed that credit subsequently, reclaim that credit. Reclaimed credit अगर है तो वो of course that is going to be as a part of your GSTR 3B credit also. And since it is there in GSTR 3B, जब आप FY 24-25 का रिटर्न फाइल करोगे, that amount will by default reflect as a ITC availed by you. That ITC availed amount will be adjusted and it will be adjusted and it will be just reclassified in table number 6H, but that is of FY 24-25, annual return of FY 24-25. The third thing, invoice belongs to FY 23-24, goods not received in 23-24. Therefore, the ITC is claimed in table 4A5 of GSTR 3 and reversed in 4B2 as per the guidelines of circular 170. And such ITC is reclaimed in the FY 24-25 till specified time. How to report such a transaction? Now, they have mentioned that the taxpayer shall report such reclaimed ITC in table number 8C and table number 13 of FY 23-24. However, with due respect, I do not agree to this particular advisory aspect, and possibly this is not something that we would be incorporating it in our returns. Now, particularly why? What is a basic flaw in this which we observed is that they are saying the FY 23-24, the invoices is pertaining to FY 23-24, but the goods have not been received in FY 23-24. Now, if I refer to the provisions of section 16 subsection 2, out of the basic conditions for availing input tax credit, one of the condition is that the goods should be received, goods or services should be received by the registered person. Now, if for the fact that the goods are not received, that is what is the assumption. If the goods are not received, of course there is there is a point to argue that whether it is physical receipt or whether it is receipt on the basis of the document of title. In either of the way, if you are not in possession on and receipt of the goods, you should not be entitled to claim the input tax credit. That deemed receipt of goods is only in the exception of bill to ship to transaction. So here, despite the fact it says that there is an invoice of FY 23-24, the goods are not received in 23-24, but it was availed and reversed because of a circular only. So it is not because of any other reason. There is a circular बट इट विल अपियर इन योर GSTR 2B बिकॉज उन्होंने तो आपका इनवॉइस आपको इशू कर दिया बट आपको गुड्स रिसीव नहीं हुए थे बाय दैट टाइम. Correct? So technically it will not be a eligible credit. But now what the thing is, the the advisory says that the taxpayer shall report such reclaimed ITC in the FY table, I mean in the table 8C. Friends, in the first place, primary claim of this credit and reversal in itself is not going to be in line with the provision of section 16. In such a scenario, although the advisory says one thing, but we are not in particularly agreement with this point, because even though the advisory says that you avail and reverse it, unless I am in receipt of goods, I will not avail the input tax credit, because technically it would be incorrect on that part. And therefore, to this point, with all due respect, I leave this point to the disagreement, and we will not make any such implications in the returns covered, because of the reason that tomorrow it should not happen by any chance that tomorrow I get a notice saying that you have availed the input tax credit when you had not even received the goods physically. So this is somewhere I would like to just keep my point away and drift from this particular point. Maybe we'll park it for the dispute, but not really something that you would like to get it covered. Although now this is not something where it was an opinion sort of mine of what to report, or rather this is more a video that we are trying to discuss the advisory. But still, since it is going to have a practical implication, I have made the stand clear what exactly we are going to do with respect to these transactions. Suppose I have a transaction of this nature. In first place, since despite what is there in the circular 170, will not avail and reverse in first place, because that invoice is something that I am anyways entitled to claim the credit when I am going to claim, I mean when I am going to receive the goods also, then only I am fulfilling the conditions of 16 subsection 2. And therefore, if I don't follow what is there in circular 170, that is avail and reverse, I would might as well actually avail it in the FY 24-25. Now then comes a question, if the invoice is there in 8A, because invoice has been reported in 8A, तो 8A में तो invoice आ गया है, मैंने उसको 8C में डालना है या नहीं डालना है, वो मैं किस बेसिस पे बोल रहा हूँ कि हम डालेंगे. अगर हमको एक्चुअली वो गुड्स मान के चलो अप्रैल 2024 में रिसीव हुए हैं, तो हम लोग अप्रैल में उसका क्रेडिट लेने के लिए एलिजिबल है, वैसे भी हम लोग एलिजिबल है, बट इट इज दैट वी आर क्लेमिंग द क्रेडिट इन अप्रैल 2024 नाउ, बिकॉज द गुड्स वर ऑल्सो फिजिकली रिसीव्ड है. सो मार्च में इनफैक्ट अज्यूम करो ये मार्च का ट्रांजेक्शन था, आपको इनवॉइस दिया गया था बट गुड्स नहीं आए थे, एंड ही हैड रिपोर्टेड दैट डेटा इन द मार्च रिटर्न. With all humility, with all respect, I would only say that for such transaction will not avail and reverse and reclaim, because reclaiming of credit as per the provision of the law technically is eligible only in case of second proviso to 16 subsection 2. This reclaim per the circular 170, that is not something that is in line with the other reclaim provisions, and therefore what we will do is that we'll simply say yes, you put it in table 8C, yes, you put it in table number 13, because that is a credit of FY 23-24 availed in the subsequent period. So we are only defining the reason very clearly why it is going to be in table number 8C and table number 13. It will be definitely there in my table number 8A as well. Okay. Next, the invoice belongs to FY 22-23, which is appearing in the table 8A of 23-24, as supplier would have reported the same in GSTR 1 after the due date of filing GSTR 1 for the tax period of March 23. How to report such transaction? Now see, this is a input tax credit for FY 22-23 which was claimed in 23-24. Now they are saying invoice is pertaining to 23-23, 22-23, appearing in the 8A of GSTR 9 of FY 23-24. Now here there can be two possibilities. One is that the credit, I mean the credit was claimed during the year 23-24 within the permissible time limit for FY 22-23. So in all practical senses, this credit might have been a part of table number 6A, which had the auto populated input tax credit of FY 23-24. Now here what is the treatment they are saying? This is the ITC of last year and was auto populated in 8A. Hence the aforesaid value need not be reported in the table number 8C and table number 13, which is obvious because this credit has already appeared in your table number 6B. From there, if we will just request you to kindly refer to our the video on the annual return, we have made it very clear FY22-23 क्रेडिट अगर हमने कुछ 23-24 में लिया है तो मेरा वो 6M एनी अदर ITC अवेल्ड इस टेबल में चले जाता है. We have parked that credit over there separately. Of course, it has no place or bearing in table number 8C and table number 13 at all because it is not a ITC of FY23 claimed in 24. 23-24 का 24-25 में क्लेम किया हुआ ऐसा ये केस नहीं है, तो इसका टेबल 8C एंड 13 से कोई लेना देना नहीं होगा. सिर्फ क्या हो जाएगा, अगेन माई टेबल नंबर 8A विल शो अ हायर वैल्यू, टेबल नंबर 8B एंड 8C से मान के चलो इसका हायर वैल्यू आएगा. देयर माइट बी अ पॉजिटिव डिफरेंस. आई विल नॉट reclassify that amount into ITC available or not availed, ITC available but ineligible. मैं वहां पे नहीं करूंगा बिकॉज ये मुझे क्रेडिट को कोई भी चीज से टेंटेड नहीं करना. इट्स ऑल अ फेयर क्लेम. It is already there in my table number 6. So I'm not going to, but instead of 6B I have kept that amount in 6M. And because we have discussed this aspect in the earlier video, so I would kindly request you to kindly refer to the earlier video if possible. So here it says it will not be reported in table number 8C and 13 of of GSTR 9 of FY23-24. This is in line with so and so the instruction which has been given. Now the last point is where to report a reclaim of ITC for an invoice which belongs to FY23-24 and which is claimed, reversed and reclaimed in the same year. So what they are saying is that अभी ये वापस ये issue जो है friends, this is only because of that circular, that advisory based circular which they have said that how to report those transactions. Means आप सब credit avail करो फिर reverse करो etc etc. As already clarified by CBIC in the press release so and so, it may be noted that the table in label and table 6H clearly states the information declared in 6H is exclusively of 6B. Therefore, information such as input tax rate is to be declared in one of the rows only. Further, as it is a claim and reclaim is reported only in one row, therefore the same should not be reported under the reversal under table 7 of the GSTR 9 of FY23-24. Now friends, here just for the sake of it, we'll just try to understand. What they are saying is reclaim of a ITC for an invoice which belongs to 23-24 and which is claimed, reversed and reclaimed in the same year. So now why we would say so? See, if you are going to, I mean here also again, like I would just like to mention it very clear. It is there in your table 6, the gross credit. If you put it in table 6H, so 6B में आपका ग्रॉस क्रेडिट है, 6H में भी अगर आपने वो रिक्लेम का अमाउंट डाल दिया तो आपका ग्रॉस क्लेम का अमाउंट टोटल 6B एंड 6H का बढ़ जाएगा. एंड एट द सेम टाइम टेबल नंबर 7 में नहीं दिखाओगे तो इट विल बी एज इफ दैट द रिवर्सल इज नॉट बीइंग शोन. So here, just to ensure that there is no double claim of credit, the advisory says that it may be noted that label in the table 6H clearly states that information declared in table 6H is exclusive of table 6B. Therefore, information of such input tax rate is to be declared in one of the rows only. So मेरा ये कहना है, but वो ये भी कहते हैं that as the claim and reclaim is reported only in one row, therefore the same should not be reported in the reversal. मेरा यहाँ पे भी वापस with a very humble view, I'm not in alignment with this. I would rather give it the treatment 6B में तो है, 6H में reclaim का है, table 7 में मैं उसका reversal दिखा दूंगा. Why? Because since it is a credit of 23-24, 6B में तो by default वो आ गया मेरे, 6H में आया है बिकॉज रिक्लेम किया है, बट टेबल 7 में भी उसका एक रिवर्सल में दिखाऊंगा. सो मेरा जो ग्रॉस अवेलमेंट है, मान के चलो 2 लाख रुपए का क्रेडिट था, अब 2 लाख मेरा 6B में है, 2 लाख मैंने एडिशनल डाले 6H में भी, एंड मैं टेबल नंबर 7 में जहाँ पे रिवर्सल की बात करता हूँ वहां पे 2 लाख रुपीज माइनस करूंगा. सो टू पॉजिटिव एंड टू नेगेटिव. सो हियर पुट टुगेदर व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, नेट ऐसा होगा कि वो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मैंने एक ही बार अवेल किया है, and we will go as per reporting of that manner. This is slightly something that which we are not in alignment with, just but to ensure that whatever stand we are taking, that is on the basis of the correctness as it is found necessary with respect to it. So friends, barring point number 5, and point number 3 where we are in particular not really in agreement with the direct way. However, we have tried to discuss this GST and advisory, and as I mentioned earlier, since it is an advisory, it is up to you as to how much this is going to have a legal standing. If we, and based on the advisory, do not change the patterns, एज आई मेंशनड अर्लियर, जो भी आपका रिटर्न फाइलिंग करने का पैटर्न है उसको वैसे ही बरकरार रखिए, रिपोर्टिंग, क्लासिफिकेशन एक्सेट्रा, just as we mentioned that if whenever there is a scrutiny, whenever there is a notice, whenever there is an explanation sort, as long as you are in a position to explain that, this will just serve as a guideline or additional path wherein you have covered the data well. So friends, on this line, I would like to thank you all for the patient listening on the advisory of GSTR 9 table number 80 and 8C of annual returns. As I also mentioned that very humbly, there were only a couple of points where I was not really in agreement with the advisory issued, and I've tried to express my opinion very clearly as to what exactly we are going to do and why we are going to do so. So once again, thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Jai Hind. Take care. Bye.